No one to talk with, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. I know for certain, the one I love, I'm through with flirting, it's just you I'm thinking of. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you.
Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Bunny or Gun Bunny, and this hairstyle took 3 hours to do. You have no idea how hard it is to go from basically a princess style haircut with, bangs and pretty long hair to accurate 1920s bob. And so the reason that I am dressed like this, and the opening you saw might have given you a hint, is because today we are talking about the 1920s, or specifically flappers. Now you may recognize this outfit from multiple flapper runs I have done at brutality competitions, which information about that will appear on screen now. But today we're not talking about, But today we're not talking about competitions or the fact that I look like a real life Betty Boop right now. We're actually going to be talking about flappers and guns. This is something I'm pretty passionate about, as if you haven't known from my multiple flapper runs. I love this outfit, but I also am a huge history nerd. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
No one to talk with, all by myself. No one to walk with, but I'm happy on the shelf. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. I know for certain, the one I love, I'm through with flirting, it's just you I'm thinking of. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you. Like Jackie Horner in the corner, don't go nowhere, what do I care? Your kisses are worthwhile waiting for. Believe me, I don't stay out late, don't care to go. I'm home about 8, just me and my radio. Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you.
I would like to let you know that some information about my channel. First off, that I am only funded by my Patreon. I will not be doing sponsorships or using YouTube's monetization feature, even though they've asked me twice now. So if you are interested in that, you get extra Gun Bunny content, and it starts at $5. So my link for the Patreon will be in the description below and on screen now. I also have a PayPal box where you're welcome to send me things. I will soon actually be putting together a requested list of guns and tactical gear and stuff that I like, including ammo, if people want to send me things that aren't a subscription-based service, or if you just have stuff lying around. So that will be being compiled soon, and I will keep that updated so people can know, like, oh, what does she own, what does she, etc. I also want to say that I post videos every Monday and Thursday, so come to my channel and check out there. I do a good mix of things. I do everything from competitions to trying new guns to cosplay, shooting in cosplay, more goofy videos kind of like this, making cosplay, and just also pure goofing off. I also generally document my journey through guns and opening a gun shop. Let me think. I have social medias, which are on the screen over here somewhere, where you can follow me, but I mostly post on YouTube and sometimes on Instagram. Women with guns aren't a new thing. Yes, there is still controversy about, women toting guns and 2A being for everybody, which is still surprising to me in this day and age. So I've gotten mixed feelings on my flapper dress at brutalities. I've worn it twice now, and a lot of people seem to have opinions. So I thought, as a lover of history, what better way to discuss the idea of staying strapped while looking great than to talk about flappers and guns. Women have been interested in and shooting guns for sport, self-protection for pretty much as long as there has been guns. Now, society's public image of this has been mixed throughout time, and so I thought I would talk about today how about 100 years ago, almost exactly today, that changed. The flapper movement was somewhat a response to World War I, but also a general movement towards embracing different ideals, especially in the area of women. Women were wearing shorter skirts that revealed their knees and calves, as well as embracing activities such as going out and dancing, scandalously, sex before marriage specifically, casually dating, shooting, driving, smoking, and other things that were generally more were reserved for men. Now, not every woman in the 1920s was a flapper. Yes, it is the flapper era, but think about it more as a subculture or a movement, right? Like, for example, like being goth, right? That is a subculture and movement and a group of people who embrace specific ideals and style and interests rather than the entirety of a generation. Flappers were quite controversial at the time, but the idea of more powerful women had slowly been seeping itself into society, especially with the rise of noir detective stories and similar, where you would have wisecracking, intelligent, sexy, seductive, morally gray women dominating the pages of popular books. Eventually, this would give rise to the idea of the femme fatale, which is another topic I will be exploring in a future video. I also just want to mention that someone once commented that my flapper with a gun, or strapped flapper as we like to call it, gives Call of Cthulhu vibes that I totally love, and I am a big fan of existential and weird literature. I love Cthulhu, I love Lovecraft, and the idea of, the game as well, and the idea of, mimicking the game Call of Cthulhu by being a strapped flapper is just peak to me, and so I highly appreciate that. I may try to emulate that more in the future. But that gives us a segue into our next segment, talking about guns. Now, there were quite a few guns available at the time. The infamous, or I guess famous to most people, infamous to me, 1911, which I will consistently shit on. I talked about it once nicely in one video, and that's all you're ever gonna get. Now I'm gonna go back to shitting on it. Was invented about a decade before the Roaring 20s, while other guns were quite popular. Thanks to the Wild West, women carrying small arms to defend themselves became more and more acceptable, though even in high society Victorian England, a woman carrying a small pocket pistol actually probably wasn't that crazy. Again, though, it depends on who you were. Flappers being, let's say, wild women who were pushing the ideas and the norms of society, especially towards their independence, sexuality, and activities, would likely have carried, and often did. Women would often carry small arms like derringers or pocket pistols, though what I have here, the lively Mauser, would not have been out of the norm. And let's be honest, it looks fucking cool. The dress staff fashion was actually quite boxy back then, which allowed for easier concealment on one's person. Those small things like handbags and reticules are also a way for a woman to conceal a small arm. Though not all people agreed with this, and I will read now a quote from a book and then a quote about that book as a review to kind of give you an idea of the sentiment of the time. The book is called Her Best Shot, Women and Guns in America, by Laura Browder, and the review is Christy A. Young. So, quote, this is from the book. In the 1920s, pundits claimed that as women demonstrated through short hair, shorter dresses, short hair, shorter dresses. Sorry, I had to. And activities outside the home, they were becoming less feminine and in the traditional sense and more aware of their sexuality. And a woman and a gun were seen as terrifyingly unfeminine, and an indication that a woman had turned her motherly characteristics to creating demons. Ma Barker is a good example of what the public saw as a woman who espoused crime and led her children into her evil ways. Well, J. Edgar Hoover blamed mothers for the waywardness of male gangsters. He also suggested that women themselves were to blame for their own criminal behavior, end quote. And then now we're talking about the response to this paragraph, the review. Literature viewed gun malls slightly differently. Oh, I love that, gun mall. I might use that. Instead of gun bunny, it could be a gun mall. I wonder if gun malls is the 1920s version of a gun bunny. It kind of makes sense, right? Like, it's a little bit different because it's different connotation. A gun bunny, you know, is someone who's is a girl who's posing with guns to look hot and doesn't actually know anything about guns, which is why I thought it would be funny to use my channel name as that, because I like to pose with guns and look hot, but I also love to learn about guns, and I thought it would be funny to kind of make a joke about that. And it seems like a gun mall is kind of, at least the 1920s version of a woman with a gun, that they're trying to use this term to, you know, characterize or degrade a woman who is seemingly using sex or sexuality to, not in this way to kind of espouse not knowing what they're doing, but in this version, you know, being criminals or tempting men, which I think is kind of interesting. How society will, you know, change how they will villainize or, you know, create a term for a woman, and how it will change depending on what the society values or what their problem is at the time, rather than, you know, where, you know, there still is a term like gun mall or gun bunny. Actually, let me make this up. Yeah, so a gun mall or gangster mall or gangster's mall is the female companion of a male professional criminal. So it kind of is, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different than gun bunny. It's a little bit more specific to the female partner of a male gangster. But mall itself is often used as a euphemism for a female prostitute, which, if you associate the word bunny with quite a few things, bunny, barracks bunny, buckle bunny, gun bunny, are all terms for, you know, women with very sexually motivated tendencies. And so this term gun mall and gun bunny do actually have a very similar root in that they're aiming to criticize a woman for being sexual in some way, and then the first term in front of it will kind of categorize in what way she's using her sexuality, which I think is very interesting. I kind of love this, and now my flapper outfit is officially gun mall. You can't stop me. All my cosplays must be sex workers. Fight me. Okay, now I have to go back to my script. Using gloves is so annoying. It can be very feminine and chic. Anyway, back to the quote. Sorry I went on a little ADHD tangent there, but that's really interesting. This is the type of stuff I'm really, really interested in. It's like learning about the history of this stuff and culture, and, you know, honestly, like, I'm somebody, I embrace my sexuality, and I embrace the fact that, like, yes, I chose gun bunny as one to make a joke about it, but also because, yes, I like posing with guns. I I know my channel is one big thirst trap. Like, I understand that. I'm consciously doing that, not to get views, but because I like it. I like doing that kind of thing. Like, I'm a, you know, very pro-sexual person. I understand, like, you know, I like making thirst traps. It makes me happy. So I think it's interesting, and I definitely will now embrace gun mall or just mall for my flapper outfit. So let's go back to the quote because I'm getting distracted again. Literature viewed gun malls slightly differently. Detective magazines were popular in the 1920s and 30s. Short stories explored how the deviousness of girl gangsters and their love for the glamorous mobster life. At times, these women were well-meaning but deceived and ended up heroines. Again, we have this idea of this, like, glamorized but still sexual, powerful in a way woman who's interested in guns, and at the time, which was, you know, rife with crime. You know, you got prohibition, the ATF's going to be created soon because of it, or, you know, the ATF, or what I like to call them, the Prohibition Committee, because alcohol, firearms, tobacco, and explosives is pretty much what prohibition was against, kind of came in response to this explosion in the Roaring Twenties. And I'm not going to talk about all the socioeconomic reasons behind the Roaring Twenties. If you want to research that, you can research that to yourself, because right now I'm just talking about hot women and guns. I probably will explore that in a future video, but right now. Not only did women appear more and more in literature and just in general carrying firearms, but women started to appear in firearms advertising more and more at the time. For example, women started to appear more and more in posters and other ads for guns, not accompanied or even instructed by men, but rather as self-standing and capable. This switch in advertising was well situated for such a time as the flapper movement. The idea in women engaging in what were traditionally men's pursuits is not a novel idea. Women enjoying riding back in the 15th or 16th century, I can't remember, was a big cultural shift where women's fashion actually mimicked men's fashion, except for just wearing long skirts instead of the breeches men wore to adorn their riding attire. There was much public mockery of women, especially from men, about this shift, but it came at a similar time of social and fashion change, such as the Roaring Twenties. This cultural and shift also allowed women to explore more pursuits around shooting and shooting sports in general. This also reflects that there is some more cultural sentiment towards the acceptance of women engaging in such sports that may have been more taboo, as more women were showing interest. With the rise of flappers wanting to smoke, drive, and fuck, more and more women let themselves indulge in the love of shooting as well. This makes me think of how 100 years ago, I go to these competitions dressed as a flapper, and I go shoot, and today still attempt to embrace the ideals of 100 years ago, of the flapper movement, of these women who strived through dancing, shooting, fucking, smoking, and driving to show their disdain for the traditions that society had dictated on proper behaviors, gender roles, and sexuality. How public sentiment started to shift more towards accepting women and guns, and not only that, accepting that, hey, a hot girl with a gun is a great way to advertise. Not only that, but this powerful idea of a woman with a weapon that, again, having a firearm is a powerful thing. It is why governments try to disarm people with firearms. It is why people want firearms. So giving women who are traditionally seen as the less powerful sex and were societally treated as such, this weapon of power is a huge step towards this empowerment, and also probably pretty scary to people who didn't want this shift in dynamic. I am thankful to the women who pioneered and the flapper movement in general, and hope to embody the ideals of it still today with my love of guns and skimpy outfits. I hope I continue to make people uncomfortable and question their ideals on the way that the world should be, embracing the way that flappers were. Now, it is quite hard to find information on specific guns women would carry back at the time, which is why I only touched on that very lightly. Something that I found throughout a lot of my research is that it tends to be quite hard to find research that is reliable on certain social aspects of women with guns. Not a lot of people were documenting this, and it also seems to be quite a struggle to find this in reliable, non-biased sources, which is generally what I look for as someone who's very scientifically minded. I plan to widen my search a little bit go try to find some more primary sources, if I can be able to access them through museums, libraries, databases, and others. It just takes a little bit more finagling. It's not as easy as just Google searching, what guns would women carry, or what guns would flappers carry. It can take a while to actually find the right information, and a lot of finagling. So I hope that you stick with me and while I dig up as much information as I possibly can and get you these little tidbits while I can. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I definitely did, and I will have plenty more Flappers content coming out, so please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Bye!